Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we are starting a new book, and this is called Easy Journey to Other Planets. This is one of the most first book that Srila Prabhupada wrote. This was written even before ISKCON was established. Srila Prabhupada was in India at the time after pitching and selling his Back to Godhead magazines. Srila Prabhupada wrote a small article or a small booklet which came out as this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. So this was in 1957 or 58. The reason why Prabhupada chose this topic is very interesting. In the 1950s, particularly 1951, during the Cold War, when there was a war between US and Russia, so there was a big um, competition between both huge countries, right? America and as well as Russia. So it is called the race for space, right? The space race. Who will enter into space first? Who will conquer the galaxies and the outer phenomena, the cosmos? So Americans call their space explorers as astronauts, right? And the Russians called their space explorers as cosmonauts, right? So astronauts because American astronauts, and cosmonauts because they were part of the communist government. So cosmonauts. So anyways, they were always having a battle with each other. And in 1950s, Russia was the first to actually successfully send a Sputnik into space. America was boasting, we'll send satellites, will this, will that, but Russia did it first. And it was not till 1955 that the first person to enter space, Yuri Gagarin, right? He entered, Russian cosmonaut. So this created a huge tension in the world after 1955, where they were thinking that no, we'll do better. So American president at the time, he said, we'll do better. We'll send a man to the moon. Before the century is over, we will send. Before the decade is over, we will send. So Srila Prabhupada hearing this, that people are so crazy, two largest powers in this world, America and Russia, they're fighting for entering space. So Srila Prabhupada thought about this, and in 1958, he wrote this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. That really, you want to travel around? Then go. But there's nothing that you will benefit from going here or there. In fact, 10 years later, 1958, Prabhupada wrote this, and it's 1968, 1967, 68 was when America declared that we successfully landed on the moon with the first person, Neil Armstrong. So that time, Prabhupada was already in America, 1966, 65, 66, Prabhupada was already in America. So people started asking Prabhupada, what about this? What about in 67, in 67 interview, in 1967, 68, Prabhupada spoke that 10 years ago, already I wrote that this was a bluff. 10 years ago, I already told that it's a waste of time. Now it's also just a waste of time. That's all Prabhupada is saying. So therefore, let us look at this book which Srila Prabhupada wrote in the 1957. What Srila Prabhupada has to taught us then. Remember, Prabhupada is in India speaking all this. So this book has two large chapters. One is called the anti-material worlds. Anti-material worlds. Anti-matter means spirit. So instead of calling spiritual world, at the time in the 1950s, people were discovering that matter is there. There was a study of matter, and there was a study of something beyond matter, which is total opposite of matter, which they call as the anti-material part. But they didn't know what it was. However, we understand it as spirit. And then Srila Prabhupada in the next chapter talks about there's varieties of planets, not just one place. Okay, so let us see. Let's read this preface. A living being, especially civilized man, has a natural desire to live forever in happiness. The Prabhupada says a civilized person, a person who is sane, a person who is truthful, a person who is naturally living, has a natural desire to live forever in happiness. Because this is the nature of the soul. Soul is anandomayo abhyasat, always searching for happiness. Prabhupada says this is quite natural because in his original state, the living being, the jiva, is both eternal and joyful. Right? We know that the jiva is by nature, by constitution, sat, chit, and ananda. The eternal, always happy and full of knowledge. However, in the present conditioned state of life, he is engaged in a struggle against recurring birth and death. So unfortunately, in our current material condition life, we are always fighting against this. Recurring means always continuing, right? Birth and death is always going. We're fighting against this. So this reminds us of a shloka that comes in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 7th verse, where Krishna says, Mama ivamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatani. The jiva is my amsha, Krishna says. The jiva, the spirit soul, is my part and parcel. He is sanatan, he is eternal. But somehow or other, this eternal, unborn spirit soul of mine, right, my part, he has entered this material world, and what has happened? Mana shashnani indriyani. Mind along with the senses, prakriti stani. He's sitting in this material world. Karshati. Karshati. That means he's endeavoring hard. He's struggling. So the jiva, when he enters into the material world, he is simply struggling. We have given up our blissful life of serving Krishna, simple life of just making Krishna happy, and we've entered this world, and along with our mind, we got a material mind, we got material senses, and we are struggling with this things. Therefore, he has attained neither happiness nor immortality. Right? We are just moving from one life to another. We have not got happiness nor immortality. Then Prabhupada begins the real message. The latest desire man has developed is the desire to travel to other planets. So it's amazing, the latest desire, because every other millennium, every other turn of the century, every other decade or so, there's some new fancy, isn't it? When mobiles had camera, there used to be just one small VGA pixel camera. And then later the camera started becoming larger. The camera had a LED at the side, acting as a flashlight also to aid photo capturing. And then that evolved even more, right? They removed that LED, they improved the quality of the camera, increased the retina, this and that. And then they come 2 cameras, 3 cameras, now quad cam, 4 cam, which, all these things are just latest desire, some things increasing. Is it advancement? Well, what is it for? How is it going to improve life or the goal of life? Prabhupada says this is also quite natural because he has the constitutional right to go to any part of the material or spiritual world. So jiva wanting to travel, yeah, because jiva has a right, they can go anywhere. Such travel is very tempting and exciting because the skies are full of unlimited globes of varying qualities, and they are occupied by all types of living entities. Right? We are all intrigued by the mysterious. We are all intrigued by something amazing. And therefore, this principle of travel is very interesting to people because they like to go and see something which they have never seen before. But unfortunately, even in this world, when you go to different countries or different places, nothing is so much new. Same thing, done in different ways. So the desire to travel there can be fulfilled by the process of yoga. Prabhupada says, if one wants to transfer to another planet, it can be fulfilled by yoga, which serves as a means by which one can transfer himself to whatever planet he likes, possibly to planets where life is not only eternal and blissful, but where there are multiple varieties of enjoyable energies. So Prabhupada says that, okay, fine, this desire to enjoy is there in you, but why don't you aspire to go to such a place where life is eternal, where life is blissful, where life is just filled with variety? Prabhupada says, anyone who can attain the freedom from the spiritual planets need never return to this miserable land of birth, old age, disease, and death. So if one can go to that kind of a place, spiritual place, one need not to come back in this place. So therefore here we should understand that the endeavors in the material world are always futile. No matter how much vehicles, how much houses, how much companies, how much bank balance, whatever we amass, no one is going to be happy as long as we are in this material world, in any planet within this material world. Till the point that we actually go back to the spiritual world, this place will always be troubling. Unfortunately, people are so much eager to discover this trouble. There's a nice section which I remember in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, called the Bhumi Geet, where Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth personified, is singing a song, Gita. She's just laughing at all the people trying to conquer her. So she says, you can see from text 2, great rulers of men, even those who are very learned, meet frustration and failure because of material lust. Driven by lust, the kings place great hope and faith in the dead lump of flesh called the body, even though the material flame is as fleeting as bubbles on water. Sometimes great kings also put so much hope on their strength, their valor, their family, their parampara, their vamsha, whatever it is. She goes on to say, kings and politicians, they imagine, oh, first I will conquer my senses and mind. I will conquer this body. Then I will conquer the chief ministers and the people around me, right? I will rid of the thorn pricks of advisors, citizens, friends, relatives, as well as the keepers of my elephants. In this way, after conquering myself, my mind, my senses, the people around me, I will conquer, gradually, I will conquer the entire earth. This is what all dictators and autocrats and monarchs, kings and whatever, they all think that I have to expand my influence of conquering. Because the hearts of these leaders are bound by great expectations, they fail to see death waiting nearby. How much you will conquer? So text 5. After conquering all the land on my surface, these proud kings forcibly enter into the ocean to conquer the sea itself. So humans have this if you remember history, right? All the people who go on exploring, they find new land. America was found. It's a conquest, right? Different countries are created. It was a conquest. So everyone is just trying to conquer land, conquer land. And if that's not enough, now they're conquering the seas. Now they have demarcation in seas. This is my zone, that is your zone. And after the sea conquest, after the land conquest, there was sea conquest. And now there's a space conquest where people want to conquer even the out of space. So Bhumi Devi says, what is the use of their self-control, which is ultimately aimed at political exploitation? Ultimately, they're just trying to exploit others, exploit the whole situation. The actual goal of self-control is spiritual liberation, right? The whole main point of real advancement in life is that one becomes spiritual. So we can see here also in this race for space that is going on, what made Prabhupada write this book, seeing so the pitiful situation, seeing the very sad situation that people are running all over the world, country to country, place to place, ocean to ocean, and now even in space. They're just going everywhere, but they forgot that that's not the goal of life, right? So last paragraph. One can attain this stage of perfection, entering the spiritual world, giving up this material world, very easily by his individual effort. One need not a spaceship or NASA. He can simply follow in his own home the prescribed method of Bhakti Yoga. This method, under proper guidance, is the simple and enjoyable. An attempt is made herein to give information to the people in general and to philosophers and religionists in particular as to how one can transfer oneself to other planets by this process of Bhakti Yoga, the highest of all yogic process. Srila Prabhupada many times commented that people, okay, fine, they did go to space, they did go to the moon, if you think like that, but what's the point, Prabhupada says. When asked whether did they really go to moon, Prabhupada said, not possible. Moon is such a pious place, how could they have gone? An amazing thing, if you look at logic, till date, the first moon landing was in 1967, 1968, right? Later in all the Apollo missions, a total of 12 people have been recorded to have walked on the moon. And all of these are American astronauts, and all of this ended in 1972, 1973, after which there was no moon mission, right? Now, 1960s and 1970s, the technology that was used, right? The computer which controlled the spacecrafts and the ships was just, a few hundred MB RAM. And nowadays we have TB in RAM, but still we cannot do it. Technology has actually become cheaper. Chips have become smaller. Technology is becoming cheaper. So in fact, actually now to go seems more possible than then. But they're saying, no, it's not possible. So anyway, there's a whole agenda, a whole doubt whether did they really go to the moon. A lot of people deny it. So, but our scope of discussion here is what's the point? Even if they did go, which we don't agree that they went, but what's the point? Ultimately, real point is that once you get spiritual goal and get material emancipation, come out of this material world and enter into the spiritual worlds. So from our next session onwards, we will look into chapter 1, speaking about the existence of other worlds beyond matter. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.